Okay. Hey, good evening, everyone. Good evening, YouTube. Everybody on the internet. So, I recently have been doing a lot of CPU tests with Final Fantasy XIV. Dawn Trail. I guess I should probably sit down and look at the camera. So, I finally finished all the data. So, I've been working on that video. But I put together a pretty good-looking PC right here. And I'm gonna take it apart. What was that? I'm gonna take it apart. So just to show the computer, that's it. You guys can see it has that LT cooler, liquid cooler, all that stuff. Yeah. Okay. The reason why we're kind of doing this because RK kept telling me I should live stream these type of things. I guess because the last time I did this, it was pretty successful. I did 2 live builds. I did the Threadripper build back in late November, early December, and then I did the, which we're going to be doing again, the 7800X3D, so this one. So recently I built a test bench computer. And where's that light again? I put this together. You guys can see this is the computer. So this is the LANcool 3. If you guys remember, we put the Threadripper computer together in this. Although this, I never really liked this for workstation. Like this seems really nice if you want to do a gaming PC with liquid cooling. Like I think the LANcool 3 really likes liquid cooling, and I'm not using liquid cooling on Threadripper. And I wanted more of a workstation case for that CPU because that's more of like a high-end desktop. So what I ended up doing was I ended up swapping this out for the ProArt PA, I think it's the PA 602 from Asus. So Threadripper's in the ProArt case now. So that kind of left the LANcool with nothing to do. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to make this video for Final Fantasy XIV, and I started realizing I can use this case to swap out motherboards. But as I was going through it, I realized, no, this isn't really scalable. Although I really like using the 360 AIO up here. And we're probably going to be taking this apart in a little bit. So you guys are going to see the LANcool 3 again. But we're going to be swapping out the Hades case. This one over here. Just to kind of show my old... So you guys remember when we did the live stream builds, the Threadripper was built in this case, and the 7800X3D, this CPU was built in the Hades case from NZXT. So now what we're going to do, we're probably going to take this out and put it in the LANcool 3. Currently, the LANcool 3 is using, or is equipped with the 12700K from Intel, with a Z690. So it's right here, I got the box, because we're going to put it away. It's going to go into storage. The Z690 Gaming X DDR4 motherboard. So this is my 12th gen through 14th gen DDR4 motherboard. It's currently inside the LANcool 3. We're going to take this out, rip all this stuff out, put this away. It's going to retire. It's going to storage for now. I did have to do like a lot of things. I had to update the BIOS. The BIOS was super old. It was from like 2022. So that I did all of that, but now we're just going to take it out. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of different coolers that are compatible with LGA 1700. I literally only have 2 coolers that support this CPU. One is the Deepcool 360 AIO, which is currently what I'm using with the 12700K. The other one is my Noctua NHD 14, which has it's got one of those retrofit kits from Noctua, and that's on the 13900K. So that I'm not going to bother with right now. Although I was thinking about putting the 13900K under liquid, I decided not to because the LANcool 3 is the only case that I have that can fit this AIO and the LAN Cool 3 can't really fit with that power supply. It can't really fit more than 2 hard drives, and my 13900K has 3 hard drives. So that's kind of a deal breaker. So it's kind of stuck like that. So I figured, how about we give the LAN Cool 3 the 7800X3D, because why not? So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to basically do a case swap. We're going to take all the stuff that's in here out and put it into storage, and then we're going to take what's in here, this small case, and it's going to go into this big case. So that's what we're going to do this stream. So feel free to, you know, anyone in the chat, you guys have any build questions for whatever. I know there's some interesting games coming out, like Ghost of Tsushima is coming out on PC. I don't know how demanding that's going to be. I don't think it's going to be too hard to run, but I could be wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and start opening this up. And I think I'm going to wear my trusty surgeon hat. You got to have the little light. So, yeah. Not to blind anybody, but that'll help me see the stuff that's in here. Anyway, the stuff that's in here is, there's no power supply, so I can't really use this right now because there's no power supply. So let's just go ahead and leave these over here, and we'll just go from here. Actually, what I'll do, how about this? Let's move the camera, if it'll actually make it. I might have to move some of this stuff. All right, we can get this stuff out of the way. You've got like 6 headlamps. All right, so this is the case. This is the case, if you guys remember, I built the, how do I get this in the shot? I guess I gotta move it up more. Okay, there we go. Okay. Move this stuff out of the way. All right, so this doesn't have a graphics card. One thing I like about these all-metal cases, they're so much lighter. I really hate tempered glass. I don't know whose idea it was to do tempered glass, but I think tempered glass is a mistake. I would much rather have plastic windows like they used to, because with this old case, this is like an old vintage case, I can like spin it around on the desk. I don't have to worry about it getting damaged or scratched or anything. So, but anyway, so you guys might notice there's no power supply, there's no graphics card. That's because I had to take the power supply out when I was testing all those CPUs and put it in the LAN Cool. So some of the work is already done. Like, we're gonna reuse the power supply, we're gonna reuse the graphics card. So, what purpose does this PC serve? This is going to be for benchmarking and testing things like GPUs and like games and that sort of thing. So originally it was in this case. I'm going to move it all into that case. The only reason why this has the 12700K in it is because I recently was doing CPU. I'm working on a video basically for CPU bottleneck comparisons for Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail, which is the next video that's going to be up on the channel. Just kind of a spoiler alert or a heads up. So stay tuned for that. I've tested a lot of CPUs in the last 24 hours. And they were all using this LAN Cool 3, but now that I'm done doing all that testing, I want to move the main CPU test rig, which is the 7800X3D, into the LAN Cool 3. So we're going to put this underwater. This is the first time in a long time that I'm going to be putting an AMD CPU on liquid cooling. I don't normally do liquid cooling. This 360 AIO is the one exception. This was supposed to be for Threadripper. I ended up moving Threadripper to air, so I was like, well, you know what? I don't have anything to cool 12700K. The reason why 12700K had been sitting in a box for like 2 years is because I didn't have a cooler that would work with it until I had that 360 AIO, and I was like, hey, I can use that with this, but guess what? I don't have anything to use this CPU with. Like, I don't have an operating system, I don't have an SSD, there's like nothing. So back into storage it goes, because we're gonna be using a better CPU for benchmarking GPUs, one that doesn't bottleneck as much. That's gonna be this one. Why are you not waiting for the new CPUs? And AMD, it's going to be up. We are going to swap to AMD. The thing is, the AMD CPU, when that thing comes out, all I gotta do is update the BIOS and pull off the cooler, pull out the old CPU, and put in the new CPU. So yeah, we're absolutely going to upgrade to Zen 5. Keep in mind that I've had this CPU for several months already. None of this stuff is new. I didn't purchase any of this stuff recently. Like, this is stuff that I've had, you know, since last year. So it's not new. I did a live build when I first got this last year, so that's and it was this very build that we're now taking apart. All right, so we got a leftover Molex that's not connected to anything. This needs to be migrated over to that power supply because I think this belongs to that Corsair power supply. I hope that's the case, because you don't want to mix cables from different brands of power supplies. That could be very bad. Okay, but that's going over there. I gotta take this out. I gotta take this out. And the speaker will probably stick with this motherboard. Alright, so now we gotta undo the CPU cooler. Well, actually, we don't have to take that off. What I can do is, actually, I should probably ground myself. So I use one of these. I highly recommend you use a grounding tool, or I guess, what do you call this thing? Armband or whatever. And then just do that. That way you don't run the risk of shorting out any of your electronics with electrostatic discharge, or ESD. So that's how I've been able to have such a large GPU collection over the years, because I never kill my electronics. Alright, so we're gonna do that. First things first, I gotta get these 9 screws out. Now, if only I could remember where I put the screwdriver. Oh, there it is. Okay. Are the first batch of 7800X3D better than they are produced actually? You mean in terms of IMC? So in general, that's a great question. In general, from my own experience over the years, the newer batches tend to be better. They're less leaky because the process matures. However, that's not always the case. That doesn't mean that, for example, if you're hoping to buy a golden sample and win the Silicon Lottery, your chances are not that much better if you wait to buy like the following year, but usually you have a slightly better chance. However, sometimes the first batches can be better. I can give you an example specifically with Intel. AMD is pretty much very well behaved in terms of the batches don't deviate too much from the initial launch. But Intel will do weird things sometimes, like they will remove things. For example, the 12700K, Alder Lake is a good example. So this generation of CPU, when it first launched, it had AVX 512 instruction set capabilities. However, later on, after I think like 2 or 3 months after the launch, Intel made the decision to remove compatibility with AVX 512. So they literally, like, they had the motherboard manufacturers update the BIOS so you can no longer enable AVX 512, even if your silicon had the capability to do it. And then later on, with the newer batches, they literally fused off the silicon. They basically cut off the silicon that could do AVX512. So there's stuff like that that could change with the newer batches. So that's why sometimes if you're an early adopter, you could benefit because you could end up getting a CPU that's better long-term than the newer ones. This one in particular, this 12700K is a launch model. I bought this on day one. I think it was like November 3rd or November 4th of 2021. So I have a launch edition 12700K. So mine has the physical capability to do AVX512. The problem for me is I don't have a motherboard that has a BIOS that supports AVX512. So if I want to use AVX512, I have to use 7000 series Ryzen because Ryzen has it. Alternatively, if I'm on Intel, I have to use the 12th or the 11th generation Rocket Lake. So basically the previous generation still has it. You remember the 7600K can do 5 gigahertz 30. You mean the 7600, wait, what? With only 1.3, I don't remember that. Are you sure? Oh yeah, you know what? I think you're right. Yeah. Hold on, I remember. Yeah. I remember that because, yeah, the Kaby Lake, the one saving grace of Kaby Lake, because Kaby Lake was kind of a dumpster fire because it came out and then literally like 2 months later, Ryzen launched and offered way more value in terms of core density. Like basically core per dollar was like insane value back then with the Ryzen launch. So that's why Kaby Lake kind of fell flat, and that forced Intel to launch Coffee Lake a whole year earlier. Yeah. All right, so sometimes it's kind of hard to see the screw in here. The problem with these giant air coolers is they are a real pain when you are trying to do stuff like put in the EPS 12 volt cables and the screws and stuff. Having to work around this giant dual fin heatsink is really irritating sometimes. All right, so that's all of those. Well, I'll move this over here. There we go. All right. So this comes out. There we go. There you go. All right, I don't think I have anything else in here. There's literally nothing in here except a fan, except 2 fans. All right. I think this is okay to put it just like that. Usually what I do is I put them on top of the box. All right, so this case is out. Now what I need to do, I need to prepare this box for storage, and then this is gonna go over here. You like to use a long screwdriver as it keeps my hands out of the case. And this is a decently sized screwdriver. It has the magnetic. I like to use these that have the adjustable, like that. And then I have a smaller one for the M.2 heat sinks. All right, so, all right, now we gotta take the stuff out of this LAN-Cool 3. And the good thing is there's nothing to take out except the motherboard and the GPU. I already removed the glass doors. I hate the glass doors on this thing. I don't like when cases have doors on hinges. I prefer them to have a latch to slide and then pull off. This is the one thing that I really don't like about the LAN-Cool 3. And it's the main reason why I got rid of it, or I stopped using it with my Threadripper. All right, so let's, I guess we have to take the cooler off the CPU. So let's do that. I don't know how good that shows up on camera, but anyway. So this is the Deep Cool. I think the number is the LT720 is the model number. So it's a 360 radiator. It's not a super thick one, but it's not like a tiny thin one either. So it's a decent size. It has the infinity mirror right here that lights up with the RGB. So it's a decently good cooler. It's actually a relatively low cost cooler. This thing is only like $100 for a 360 AIO. I think that's a good price. I mean, I'm not a water cooling guy, so I don't really know. But I just know I got it for like $100 at Micro Center, brand new, when I built the Threadripper system last year. You need to know if I fixed the 7800X3D wrongly, because I get 55 degrees on normal. 75 volt gaming, those are totally fine temperatures. You shouldn't worry about that at all. What type of cooler are you using? Okay. But in general, I wouldn't worry about that at all. Those are normal temperatures. If you're hitting like 90 degrees, then you have a problem. All right, so we're gonna take the GPU out. The other nice thing about my X670 motherboard is Gigabyte has, it's hard to show it here, but Gigabyte has like this really big latch. Oh, I can't really, it's like really easy to take out GPUs. So I like being able to use that because I swap GPUs out a lot to test, and having to like stick my finger in here, or what I actually do, I actually use one of these. This is like a hard drive rail from a much older case, from an NZXT case. I take this curved hook end where the clip is, and I stick it right there. See that? It's kind of, let me see if I can get it to show up on camera. So I stick it there, I press down, and there you go. That's how I get the GPU out. All right, so this is the reference 7900 XT. So this is the AMD reference card, if you want to call it the Radeon Founders Edition, whatever, but that's basically what this is. So it's the second fastest AMD GPU currently. So that's that one. It has 20 gigabytes of VRAM, so it's perfect for artificial intelligence. So from what I've been told. And I've done some stuff with AI. In fact, I've been meaning to revisit that topic in the future. Okay, so for this, I'm just going to take all these things out. Front panel. This is actually a pretty good motherboard from Gigabyte. This is like a $230 when I bought it in 2021. DDR4, you know, Z690. .24 pin. The only thing you could do would be to use code optimizer. I don't think those temperatures are a problem though. Those are normal temperatures. Okay. All right. How does this? I think this thing is magnetic. Yeah, this is a magnetic cover, so it just like comes off like that, and it goes on like that. So this is really nice. I actually really like this Deep Cool cooler. I don't normally like to use AIOs, but man, this is way more convenient though when you're swapping CPUs. The only problem is that whole point about it being convenient is invalidated if you have to swap motherboards. And I had to swap a whole bunch of motherboards yesterday. It was super annoying. And that's why there was no live stream yesterday, guys. Just FYI, I was too busy swapping a bunch of motherboards and CPUs, benchmarking Dawn Trail over and over and over again at 3 different resolutions, and swapping the GPU all the time. So that's the reason why there was no live stream yesterday. What is my experience so far with the X670E Steel Legend? I think that is one of the best motherboards on the market, period. The Steel Legend, ASRock right now is kind of that underdog that no one really pays attention to, but they actually have some of the best value products on the market. Like, no joke, if you watched my my video about 8,000 megahertz RAM or 8,000 megatransfers, so right here, this is an 8,000 kit. I don't know if that's gonna focus on the camera. 8,000. This is a 2x24 48 gig 8,000 XMP kit. I did a video recently, and I encourage you to watch that video. 6,000 DDR5 6000 versus DDR5 8000 on a Ryzen CPU on an X3D 7000 series. I used the Steel Legend. It's plug and play. All you literally do, load XMP, F10, let it train, you're good to go. Going to Windows, 100% stable. Probably the best experience I've ever had with running high-speed memory. So, the cool thing about ASRock's BIOS is that for some reason, it knows how to change the impedance values correctly the first time, which reduces the amount of troubleshooting and tuning on your end, making your life so much easier. So this is the sort of thing, though, that it's like, you don't really know these things unless you really know what you're doing, or you buy the product and you figure it out on your own. Because unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of coverage on that board. But yeah, that's a really good motherboard. The only thing that the motherboard doesn't have is a postcode debug. But you don't really need it, and there's a workaround, like if you wanted to buy one separately, like I show in the video. So you should check out that video. It's a pretty recent one on my channel, but that will answer your questions about the ASRock Steel Legend. I also did a build video with that exact same motherboard, with the 7950X3D. I don't know if it can be beaten for the cost. Yes. Oh, and it comes with an anti-sag GPU support bracket. The ASRock Steel Legend includes a GPU anti-sag bracket, which is a very nice one too. It's not the type that just literally like sticks out here. It actually bolts onto the motherboard off to the side. Let's put it this way. The Steel Legend has an anti-sag bracket that I actually use. This LandCool 3 comes with an anti-sag bracket, which is complete garbage and utterly useless, and I don't use it. So, I'll leave it at that. Alright, so we're going to take this thing off. I guess I'm going to take the cooler off next. Such a waste of thermal paste. I had to swap CPUs out so much yesterday. I had to use so much thermal paste. This is why you only use a rice grain. You don't draw an X. You don't draw 2 lines. You don't spread the thermal paste. That's how you waste money on thermal paste. I'll show you guys how to apply thermal paste. This is how much you apply. That's how much thermal paste you should be applying. Just FYI. I'll show you. I'll show you guys in a little bit. Because if I'm gonna test like a dozen CPUs, I'm not gonna spend money on thermal paste. So I have to make my thermal paste reserves last a long time. One, two. Okay, this one. I'm gonna have to get the fan off too. And the RGB, it's all stuck behind the thing. There you go. Now I think you guys can see in there better. Although when I look up at the camera, then I blind the camera. Let's try the lower brightness setting. Okay, so that's out. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys the thermal paste on here. If this will go, if this will actually fit. I don't think my camera wire is gonna be able to fit. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to lift it up later. I don't have enough length on the camera wire. Anyway, I'll show you guys later. All right, we got to get this thing out. The RGB. All right, so that's out. Got to get my infinity mirror. Now we have to take this thing out. But you can see the thermal paste is spread evenly on both that and that. So let me get a tissue or something. Just have to clean this off. That one little dot makes all this thermal paste. All right. And there is the 12700K. That is the AVX 512 capable CPU. Just to kind of show that here. This is how you can tell if you have AVX 512. If it'll focus. I don't think it's gonna focus. There we go. If your 12th gen has a circle right here, if you have the little circle logo, the old Intel logo, you have AVX 512 in the silicon. That's how you can tell. If your 12th gen CPU instead has 4 little dots or squares, which is the newer logo, then you do not have AVX 512. That means it is missing it from the factory. They fused it off. So this launch model has 512. I guess for now, I'm just gonna put him back in here. Look at that. Look at that LGA 1700. Later this year, this will be so irrelevant. So this is 12th gen's moment in time. And that the same thing with 13 and 14. 12th gen, 13th gen, 14th gen, this is their moment. Later this year, they will become so irrelevant, people who buy them this year will have buyer's remorse. Just saying. This is your moment. Remember it. Okay. Because Zen 5 is coming, and also Core Ultra is coming. Alright, so that's still in. I guess we need to get the cooler out. Is okay running video 1.45 on X3D and 1.4 VDDQ? Oh, VDDIO? No, you don't need that much voltage. That's too much voltage. What RAM speed are you trying to run? Go watch my video. Go watch the video that I did on 8000. I show all the voltages. That's way too much voltage, by the way. For VDDIO, that's too much. All right, here's the liquid cooler. Is a default XMP. Dominator 7200. What platform is this? What's Steel? Is this Steel Legend? I feel like that's a really old kit for that much voltage. This kit right here does 8,000 on the XMP, 1.35 volts. And so just to give you an idea, like for me, I think I'm doing 1.35 VDD-IO, 1.35 VDD-Q, VDD, and then 1.2 VSOC. You don't need more than 1.2 VSOC ever, from my own experience. I've tested like 3 different CPUs. They all behave the exact same way. They can all hit 8,000, all on different motherboards. Steel Legend, ASRock, or Gigabyte Aorus Elite, and Gigabyte Aorus Master. All of them behave the same. They're all 4-stick motherboards, and they can all do 8,000. Easy mode. So I don't know what kit, like, to me, if you need that much, I don't think you need more. 1.45 is too high. You should be doing like no more than 1.4. 1.4 is like the older memory. You needed 1.4. The newer stuff is like 1.35, 1.3. Because the JEDEC standard recently got updated to include up to 8800. Because I have a feeling that Zen 5 is probably going to change the target speed above 8,000. Because right now, there's 2 speeds you want to target if you're on Ryzen. Obviously 6,000 for reasons that everybody already knows. The other secret number is 8,000 for the reasons that I have done multiple videos about. And that's what I'm running on my X3D CPUs. I'm running this memory at 8,000 on 2 different PCs. On an Ryzen 9 7950 X3D with Steel Legend, and the PC that we're about to put in here is using this very RAM running at 8,000 on a Gigabyte board. Oh, I forgot to take this off. Should have taken these off first. There we go. Okay. Good thing I left that screw in. That would have been a pain to take out. I have to put the screw back in. There it is. Here it is, boys and girls. This is the Z690. This is the last DDR4 motherboard that I will ever purchase, or that I've ever purchased. This is the end of the DDR4 era. End of an era. 12th gen Alder Lake i7 with the Z690. I honestly believe that, okay, forget about memory overclocking, because from my experience, I can't do 8,000 on a 13900K on a Z790, but forget about memory overclocking. Z690 is a better chipset than Z790 because they actually gave you better lane layouts. So I'll give you guys an example. This motherboard has an X16 PCIe Gen 5. Okay, that's fine, because Z790 is the same. But here's where it gets different. These 2 slots are both X4. They're PCIe Gen 3, but they're both X4. That means I can run a capture card that does 4K 60 in one of these, and I can run a Thunderbolt card in the other one, if I wanted to add Thunderbolt. So you can't do that with Z790. With Z790, most of them are like, there's an X4, which is Gen 4. Well, I mean, that's nice that it's Gen 4, but then the other one is usually like either, unless it's like an X8 that shares lanes with the GPU slot, you know, you don't have as many separate lanes. So I personally think that the way Intel came up with the Z690 chipset, the Z690 chipset actually seems like it's better for a not workstation, but like a content creation, you know, actual power user standpoint compared to Z790. So I'm not a big fan of Z790. So this is Z690. And here's DDR4 with the legendary Corsair Vengeance memory. This is the Corsair Vengeance memory that allowed Gear 1 to work on not only Alder Lake, but also Rocket Lake on the Z590. So that's what this RAM is. This is my Hynix DDR4 XMP. So all right, so decent motherboard for like this is like a $200 to $230 motherboard. It doesn't have Wi-Fi, but you know, for value proposition, I think this is one of the better ones. All right, so I'm just gonna put this, we'll just put this off to the side somewhere. Just get this out of the way. Everybody's favorite Z690 motherboard. You have a MSI B350 Tomahawk. Man, that is a legendary motherboard right there. Forget about Z690 for a second. That MSI Tomahawk has seen so much battlefield action. Like literally, the Tomahawk from MSI has stood the test of time, and that's basically like in the annals of history at this point, because that motherboard could go from launch day Zen 1 back in March of 2017 all the way to the 5800X 3D. That's pretty legendary in terms of how many different CPUs that motherboard was able to support over all these years. Now that's a real legendary motherboard. Okay, so for this, what I'll do, we'll just put this in, and then I'll just take the cooler off, I guess. I'm gonna make sure I line up all the standoffs. Oops. Okay, those go like that. And those go there. What's over here? Something's blocking this. Okay. I think we should be good. Okay. So now let's screw this one in. Why does this seem like it's at a weird angle? Okay, I guess that's in correctly. It looks kind of... Let's see if I can get the standoffs in, then I know it's good. No, it's like it's going in at a weird angle. Yeah, something over here is like in the way. Maybe I have to take that air cooler off to be able to see. Oh, now I got the standoff stuck on the motherboard. I'll need pliers to get those off. Real world stuff. Yeah, I don't know what is... It's like the I/O shield or something wasn't lining up correctly. Okay, so I gotta put these back in. Okay, so the front row is lined up. Okay, that one looks good. The bottom one looks good. Sort. Actually, that doesn't look good. Hold on. Why are these guys like not lined up? Okay, that's it. Now it's lined up. Something with the I/O shield. Sometimes the I/O shield, because you know how motherboards used to not have them integrated? You used to... Now, why is this one not going in? I don't know what is up with that. These standoffs are being annoying. None of these are lining up correctly. I don't really know why that's happening. The top row looks good. I don't know why. Yeah, that's not going in correctly at all. It feels like it's going in. Some of them are going in. Oh, wait, there we go. Okay. I don't know why that's not going in at all. That one is in. That one is in. This one, I think, yep, I took the standoff out of the motherboard, or the actual case. Have to get that back in. There we go. And the screw's not in. So I don't know what exactly happened. That's like, anyway. That's not in all the way, so I'm gonna have to redo a lot of these. You don't need to swap battery to short the CMOS. What are you talking about? I had to say, you have X670E still edging with this. This interesting thing I found is the board is when it fails to train OC RAM, it just reboots and puts itself alone on default. Oh, I didn't even know it could do that. I know that DDR5... Okay, yeah, this is way off. Like, I don't understand how this is so messed up right now. None of these standoffs are, like, going in correctly. And I think I just figured out why. I'm using the wrong screws. The standoff screws are over here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Yeah, they're right over there. That's why it's not working. No wonder the standoffs are coming out when I unscrew them. Okay, so what are these screws for? How are there so many screws over there? 1. There was 2 for the GPU. Where did all these other screws come from? I have no idea where these other screws are coming from. There was like a bunch of screws just sitting here. I don't know what they're for. Okay, but anyway, now I know why my standoffs are coming out with when I unscrew the screws. Are they out? No. I don't understand where those screws came from. Oh, you know what? Those screws belong to the other computer case. These belong to the other case that I took the other... Okay. All right, well, this one came out. That's good. I don't know how many of these I actually screwed in here. I guess all of them. Wow. Okay. Now, so if this ever happens to you, what you have to do to get these out, to see what happened now, is I've got the standoff stuck to the screw. You gotta get a pliers. You have to get a pliers to hold this and then unscrew it on the other end. So that's what it was, wrong screws. I was using the screws that belong to the NZXT Hades case instead of the LANCool 3. Well, I won't make that mistake again. That one was in there really good. That last one. Okay, one more. Sitting here thinking like, where did all these screws come from? If these are the wrong ones. Okay, now I gotta put all these standoffs back in. Put this over here. Goes over top of standoff. Well, normally if you're only working with one case, you wouldn't make this mistake. It's just because I have two cases in close proximity and we're working with both of them simultaneously. Also, the cases include Oftentimes they'll include like a little tool to tighten the standoff. So like in the case of the Landcool 3, I think it has one. What is this? Yeah, see? So you can use this thing to tighten the standoffs. Any decent case should include one of these. So like, for example, what I can do is I can take my screwdriver, take this, and then just put it over the standoff, and there you go. It tightens the standoff. That one needed to be tightened a lot, so I'm glad I got this thing out, because that one probably would have become loose again. That middle one. I forgot one. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? There's one missing. The one in the middle, the one in the very middle of the motherboard was missing. This one's gonna be hard to get to. I'm gonna have to probably do this. Actually, oh no, it's better to do this. There we go. Is this a different size than the other ones? Oh, you know what? The middle one is a special one. So I want, yeah, it's taller. So I want that one to be in the middle. So I'm gonna take this out. Because this one, yeah, the middle one's a little bit taller, so you want that one. That's the one that helps you align all of them together. Okay, now we can put this in. There we go. Now it's aligned with the middle. So all of them are lined up perfectly. Now I will use the correct screws and this will go by much smoother. There we go. That is how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be easy to put those in. Middle for my case is just a peg. Yeah, is that? I bet that's a Corsair case. Corsair does that. on some of their cases. Or maybe it's Cooler Master. I know Corsair and Cooler Master have done that. I have a case from, I think it's Cooler Master? Or maybe it's Corsair that has the peg in the middle. Fractal, okay. What case is that? We got the Fractal North. Or the North XL. It's an old, oh, Defined S, okay. Yeah, because I think I'm pretty sure it's my old Corsair 600T Graphite series has the peg in the middle. All right, last one. This top left one always is the hardest one to get at. So, okay, now we need to take this off because we're going to use a liquid cooler instead of this. So this is the first time I'm going to be using a liquid cooler, an AIO, a 360 AIO on a Ryzen 7000 series CPU. Historically, I always run, you guys know me, if you're watching my channel for a long time, I really like air coolers. There's so much less maintenance. There's so many less things that could go wrong. You don't have to worry about leaks. You don't have to worry about the pump failing because the pump is constantly running at like 3,000 something RPM. So you know it's gonna die faster than your fans. You can keep reusing the heatsink. This heatsink is, for those that don't know what this is a Noctua NHD14, which I've had this thing for more than 10 years. I think I got this in 2013 or 2012. Like, that's how old this is. And and nothing ever broke down. Literally, the only thing that I changed, and it's an aesthetics thing, you guys notice the fan. This is not the original fan. This is the Noctua Redux. So this is their P12. It's an older design fan, but the brown, you know, the hamburger colored fans, I'm not a big fan of the Noctua hamburger brown colors. So but I like their Redux, so I went and got their Redux fans and I put those on here because it just so happens that they've got Redux colors that fit both fans, because the D14 had one of these in the middle and one of these. So what's cool about the Noctua cooler for its time, they came out with this is a 140 millimeter fan, but they engineered a 120 millimeter mount. So you can see the holes here are actually for a 120 millimeter fan. But so it's like it's oversized. It's a 140 with a 120 mounting holes. So like the Scythe fans. Yeah, the Scythe Fuma's good, but the Scythe Fuma, the only problem with those is they just don't have enough thermal mass. Like the metal is not enough. So if you're gonna like stress the computer, you're gonna run 100% full load a lot. The problem with the Scythe is those tend to saturate, and then the CPU will thermal throttle. So but they're really nice and quiet if you're just wanting to build a quiet computer to play Final Fantasy on, for example. So, but yeah, we're gonna take this out. Yeah, no, I'm definitely an air person, but I want to try liquid cooling on AMD and see what happens when you put the 7800X3D under liquid. This has been on here since I did the build video, however many months ago that was. The only thing I don't like about air coolers it's very hard to get at your GPU if you're going to swap the GPU. It's also hard to swap memory. Well, it's not impossible, it's just annoying, and it's extremely hard to get to stuff above the air cooler if you need to, like plug in RGB or something. Is that a deep cool? Yeah, it's the one that I bought when I built the Threadripper system. It's just I'm using air. I have Threadripper on a Noctua air cooler now. Funnily enough, we're talking about like going to liquid cooling, and then with Threadripper, I went back to air cooling. So now we're taking a much lower wattage CPU and we're gonna put that underwater. How much sense that makes, right? That makes a whole bunch of sense. Yeah, I don't like liquid coolers. I think they look nicer though. The build, if you care about aesthetics, I do think the liquid coolers are nicer to look at than the air. Like, it shows off your memory, it shows off the VRMs, I guess, the VRM heat sinks. So okay, so see, remember guys, I told you, you only need a tiny dot of thermal paste. People were doubting me. Look at this. This came from this amount of thermal paste. This amount of thermal paste turns into this. And that. That's why you don't need that much thermal paste. Oh, I'm actually going to take these off. I haven't taken these off in forever. Here is the G.Skill Magic Memory. This is that Magic 8000 memory that I did that video about. And I'm going to continue using the 7800X3D with 8000 megatransfers RAM, 48 gigs total. Until something better comes out, until we get better capacity at lower voltage, you know, whatever. Give me 2x64. Or I guess 2x48 at 8000. And you know what's funny? This thermal paste is that like really, really cheap off-brand generic thermal paste that looks like toothpaste. It actually works really, really well. So it's like we're gonna use more of that stuff, because that's the only way I can do CPU benchmarking comparison videos, because I can't afford to spend like a bunch of money on thermal paste, and that's why you only need like a rice grain for thermal paste. We're gonna show like how much thermal paste you put on these CPUs. It's not a lot. I like to spread it. I used to do that. I don't bother with that anymore because it typically figures it out on its own. It spreads it out on its own. All right, so we're gonna clean this off. Okay. There it is. Let's see, how can I get like a better shot of that? Man, that's not a better shot. That's worse. There it is. I cleaned it up nice. 7800X3D. Okay, so that's in. I really do like this LGA socket. It feels really sturdy. The Intel one's not bad. The Intel one just makes a lot of weird noises, and it kind of like scrapes across the the top or bottom end of the motherboard as it closes, whereas this one just kind of goes down. Okay, I forgot to clean the Noctua. There. Good enough. I only have a few coolers that work with my LGA 1700. Alright, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put, actually, I just realized something. I gotta put the right mount for this, because this is currently, this liquid cooler, this is set up for Intel. It's got the Intel brackets. I gotta redo this, so I gotta go get the box for the liquid cooler. All right, here it is, the box. In fact, we can go ahead and take this off first. I like how the deep cool, this is the LT, I think LT 720 is what it's called. Deep cool LT 720. This is the air cool, or the liquid cooler. For those that are curious. I like how the frame, the brackets are all magnetic, so it lines up very easily. And it holds to the cool plate, the cold plate. You feel like Deepcool has a special port that's supposed to not leak? Oh yeah, I think they do. Yeah, I think you're right. They advertise that on the box. Alright, well that's the cold plate. Okay, here's what it comes with. It comes with a zip tie fell in there. It comes with a bunch of screws. These screws. It comes with LGA 1155, 1150, 1156 or whatever, 53. And also LGA 1200, aka Rocket Lake and Comet Lake, are included in here. Those standoffs are for those. These over here, wherever I put them, I don't know where I put them, but the ones that I took off for the 12700K, those are somewhere. I guess we'll find those later. They're hiding right now. And then wherever they went, okay. And then we got those, and then it comes with these low noise adapters for the 3 fans, if you want to slow the 3 fans down to make it quieter. And then it has a bunch of standouts for AMD. So here's the AMD hardware. Or I think this is the AMD hardware. Because I recognize it from when I put the Threadripper on here. So we gotta find the AMD one. Oh, it also supports LGA 2066 and 2011. So Sandy Bridge, Haswell E, and Skylake X are all supported on here. Kaby Lake X. And it supports Threadripper also, as I showed last year. Okay, so for AMD, we already removed the thing. So now we gotta put the what? Oh, wait. Oh, the screws? Okay, we gotta use these. Support about pressure differential. Might be thinking of some. No, you're correct. I remember it. It's a deep cool thing. I don't know if they're the only ones that have that though. Okay, I think it's these. Based off the picture. It just looks like that, yeah. I just realized I've never used these before because Threadripper didn't use these. Threadripper used a different thing. Because we're doing AM. This is backwards compatible with AM4 and AM5. So the exact same installation procedure applies to anyone who's on AM4. And I should probably turn this around so you guys can see. Let me do that. Oh, is that where this is at? My GPU almost fell off the table. That's nice. Okay. Well, that thing like fell onto the PCIe. That's wonderful. Keep tearing things up. Okay. Since these are here, now's my chance to plug the CPU power in before this gets so complicated that it'll be a nightmare to get anything back here. Whoops, what happened there? There we go. Okay, EPS cables are in. I guess I should plug this in too. Okay, we got our motherboard power cables. Could probably plug some of this other stuff in too. System fan. The front panel connections. Wherever the onboard audio is, I'll figure it out later. Okay. There we go. Okay, next I have to put this stuff. The mounting plate. So I need to put these. Like this? How does this go? Like that. And then this one goes like that. Whoop. P is the wider one. O is the narrower one. So O is away from the tubes, P is on the tubes. Okay. Man, these magnetic I say magnetic and then it falls. These magnetic screws are pretty nice though. Like, they just stick on the cold plate while you're trying to line it up. It makes it a lot quicker to get these in. This is like, what? Like deja vu from setting up the PC 8 months ago. Cable chaos with the Corsair 5000, the 5000T. All right, I think I got him in. So now what do I need to do? Oh, now we put these on. Oh, okay, now we put it on the CPU. Okay, so what I will do first, before we do that, this actually goes in pretty good because it like holds to the, this holds to the bracket, but the thing is the AM5 one doesn't go anywhere because it's like stuck on the motherboard. The AM4 one can fall out the back, so actually that's really nice that it holds fast to the thing. Okay, so now what we'll do, I'm gonna lift this up. We're gonna put the cooler in on the top. And then we're gonna put the thermal paste on. And while I'm doing this, now is a perfect time to plug all these fan headers and all this other stuff in the top. So I'm going to make the pump is going to be on optional fan. The fans are going to be on CPU fan. And then where's the RGB? Oh, that's later. Okay. Now we're going to get all this stuff in there. And the LAN cool tries to make this easy. Okay. Your X570S had one? What, the AK620? You had to repaste thermal paste 3 times because I didn't know why I couldn't get the CPU cooler on to stay. Alright, first I'm going to test fit it. Because you said that, I'm going to test fit it before I put the thermal paste on. Okay, yeah, so this goes like that. What does it say here in the thing? AM5 and AM4 use the exact same screw distances. So then what are these wider ones? Oh, the wider one's Threadripper? Oh, okay. The wider ones are for Threadripper. Because I remember I used those last year. Because I used to use this on the Threadripper, but then I went to Airs. So, okay, so that's going to go like that. All right, time for the thermal paste. Everybody's favorite part. That's already clean. Is this clean? Clean enough. All right, where's my thermal paste? Here it is. This random It's literally called HY510 thermal grease. It's the most generic thermal paste I've ever seen, but there's a lot of it, so it's good. We don't have to worry about running out anytime soon. All right, here we go. That's it. I want to show you guys if the camera will reach. I don't think it's going to reach. Whoops. Okay, there goes the GPU. As you guys can see, that is all you need. That little dot is all you need. You don't need a lot. GPU's okay. It just fell over, that's fine. This knocked it over here. It's in the way all the time. It's all this stuff. Oh, these are the other parts of the cooler. Okay, so that's there. You take this, and I just unplugged the pump. Wonderful. There we go. Okay, did I get through? No. Okay. All right, you just put it in or on here. That's on, and now we're just gonna screw it down. The what? I don't... Yeah, sometimes I can't see the chat because I'm like focusing on not screwing something up here. Okay. That's on good. I can lift up the entire PC with that if I wanted. Okay. That's on. Now the infinity mirror. The infinity mirror, I gotta plug in the RGB somewhere. I don't know, where is this supposed to go? LED C2. I guess it goes right there. There. I get this stuff out of the way. Why is the RAM like bombarded with all this wire stuff? This is the thing I don't like about liquid coolers though. You got all these little annoying cables just all crammed together. You have to hide all of them. Okay. There's like right there on the RAM. Like what? Okay, that's good. Now things are starting to come together. Now we just need to put the GPU. The GPU? I'm trying to remember, is there anything? Oh, the front panel audio, the front panel USB. I gotta put the USB stuff in. Alright, so the onboard audio, or front panel audio, that's in. Why does that cable feel like it's so stretched? Like, why is there like no slack? And then this thing. This one actually can go right here. VDG. I guess that's the same. LED 2. Okay. Showing that on Starfield. What was the thing on Starfield? Does any of this stuff go with that? Oh, my, yeah, these things we're always on that motherboard. Let's take those out later. All right, next, the GPU. I think we're done. Am I playing Starfield? No. I haven't played Starfield since last year. That video that I did, the Starfield video series, was a while back. That was when Starfield was new. Supposedly they're fixing stuff, right? Didn't they say recently, didn't they say they were like adding a bunch of things to that game? Alright, one thing I can remove from here is my old Intel SSD, or my Samsung SSD, because we're not using it. So I'm going to take this out. I'm going to take this, and just to kind of show this, the nice thing about the LandCool 3 these are expandable. They're spring-loaded, so you can pull on them to take the SSD out. This is a Samsung 840 Pro from 2013. This is a 250 or 256 gigabyte SSD. It's very old. This is my very first SSD that I built with the i7 4770K almost 11 years ago. So still works. Would it be worth waiting for that? You mean the GPU? The GPU is harder to say because we know less about them. We know more about the CPUs, and we know when they're coming. But the GPU is harder. We know there's like something supposed to come out this year for GPU, but I don't really know like at what performance tier. If you're gonna be waiting for the 80, what would you say, the 80? If you're waiting for an 800 series GPU, there isn't gonna be one this year. That's next year. Only I think flagships are coming out this year. Okay. This is it. It's done. Just gotta hide these cables. We should do some cable management here to hide some of these cables up here. especially the ones that are so close to the RAM. But anyway, that's it. You can see we have a 360 Deep Cool LT720. We have G-Skill 8000 series. This is 48 gigabytes. Should probably move this camera up. We have a 7800X3 now under liquid. Before it was under air. We have a 7900 XT with 20 gigabytes of VRAM. And I still have the ability, so I've got an X4 and an X2. The X4 can be used to add USB 4 or Thunderbolt 4 or 4K 60 capture cards, HDR capture cards, etc. The X2 slot down here at the very bottom, this can be used to add 10 gigabit networking to this motherboard. So I already have a YouTube video showing how to do that. You assume I work for AMD, judging by the shirt. Does that mean that I work for AMD? I don't think that means I work for AMD. I guess it could. I guess it could imply I work for AMD. But if I worked for AMD, I don't think I'd be walking around with one of these. You know, I don't think I'd have both of them. So. Okay, we gotta put away the Intel motherboard. This is the old Z690. I gotta take this off. How does this even come off? Oh. That's why I couldn't find the standoffs, because they were still on the motherboard. I need to take these off and put them into storage. Yeah, they just kind of stick there. They're like friction. And I gotta take this thing off the back. The cool thing about this is, if you want to do, so LGA 1700, this is in the outward position. But if you wanted to use this with Rocket Lake, like 11th gen, you just push them in. You just push them inward, and now they work with Haswell, Skylake, Broadwell, Sandy Bridge, all the way up to Rocket Lake. All right, so we've got the little speaker. We don't need this anymore. There's already one over there. I can put that away. We gotta put the Intel stuff in storage because I don't have a place for it right now. I can't see. I pulled all this stuff out of storage just for like 1 or 2 videos. We'll see. Maybe I can make more content on that later. But there's not a lot of discussion about DDR4 and Intel's current generation CPUs. But I would wager that a lot of people that have Alder Lake are using DDR4 motherboards. This case is very heavy. Okay, now I can sit down. And now we can do this. And now I can probably pay more attention to the chat. I need to actually find where I'm supposed to put this Corsair RAM. So I gotta go get some of that stuff to put this away. Okay. These are the Corsair Vengeance DDR4. So these are the boxes for these. So I've already shown how to do 4 sticks. So 4 sticks on DDR4 is not that hard to do. 4 sticks on DDR5 is actually pretty easy up to 64 gigabytes of RAM. Once you go beyond 64, like for example, if I do 16, 16, 16, 16, so 16 times 4, that's 64 gigabytes. That is the limit of what is easy. So you could easily run like 64 gigs at 6,000 on Ryzen, no problem, DDR5. But once you get higher capacity, like 96 gigabytes, 128 gigabytes, 192 gigabytes, then it becomes more challenging. But I have a video on showing how to do that. In fact, I have a recent video showing how to do that. Do I know when Ryzen's coming? Q3. It's going to be July through September timeframe. I don't know the exact date. I know the window. The window is Q3. So that's why I'm telling people, like, if you're thinking of building a PC, you should probably wait till the summer. You have way better options in the summer. You get new motherboards. There's a brand new chipset coming out this summer alongside the new Ryzen 9000 series. So we've been doing a lot of focus on RAM because I think right now the thing to talk about when it comes to PC is RAM. Like, there's no point in talking about CPUs right now, although I am doing videos on CPUs recently, especially the Intel meltdown problem with the, you know, the crashes and stuff. I've already shown how to fix that without running into any problems further. So if you are running into that problem, I strongly encourage you to watch that video. Okay, so for this, I just realized I shouldn't take the CPU out because I need to go find the cover for the motherboard. I gotta go find the cover for the motherboard. And I'm not even sure where that is. Unless it's in the box. Maybe it's inside this box? Oh, it's in the box. Good, I was smart enough to remember to put it in the box. Because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to put this in the box. You're not supposed to throw away the cover. If you're planning on reselling your motherboard, if you're planning on like storing it away or something, like what I'm going to be doing. So that's what we're going to do. What's in the box? What do you mean what's in the box? What's in this box? This box is about to have this motherboard in the box. Alright, so let's take the RAM out. Okay. I think this goes this way. Oh, also, you want to make sure you don't mix up your RAM. So usually they're in the same batch. So this one is 15. This one is 16. So these two go together. Because even though these are the same kit, like these are the same model, they were manufactured in different batches. Because this one, for example, is much older than this other one that I purchased like way later on. So you don't want to mix your RAM up. Also, I said this in my video, if you're installing 4 sticks of memory and you bought 2 different kits, you want to make sure that they're paired on the same channel. So for example, these 2 sticks came together, so they go next to each other on A channel. Then the other kit of memory, these two came together. They go together on the B channel. That way you're not mixing up the micro tolerances and the differences in manufacturing that could cause instability, or at least, I guess worst case scenario, you wouldn't be able to get your XMP profile working because your RAM is too different when they're mixed on different channels. So if you're running 2 sticks, then yes, obviously it's, you know, A2, B2. But if you're running 4 sticks, you need to do one matching pair needs to be on one channel, the other matching pair needs to be on the other channel. Why build Intel? No, we're not building Intel, we're taking it apart. Hey Shane. Yeah, we already did the build. You missed the build. Basically, we're retiring a 12700K DDR4. We're swapping that out with a 7800X3D on DDR5 8000. So that's what we're doing. So this is my old DDR4 Corsair Vengeance RAM, and I'm putting it away into storage. Until the time arises, they will disappear into the ether for now until they're once again summoned. Alright, so that's one, and then here's the other. This one doesn't want to go in the box. It doesn't want to go away. It's like, no, please, I'm still useful. Yeah. This RAM doesn't want to go. Alright, there we go. Okay, so there's my 2 Corsair DDR4 kits. So those will be put away. And then now the CPU. I feel like I'm doing an unboxing just to do a reboxing. This is so weird. Like, I don't normally ever do something like this. We're reboxing. This is the unboxing to rebox. It's like a remix. It's like I'm doing something, I'm doing this in reverse. It's like I'm going forward, but I'm going backwards. The Magic 12700K that actually has AVX 512. Now it can just rest on its laurels. There we go. 12700K. You will be missed. You did go from DDR4 2800 4x8 to 3600 2x32 on the 5900X. It was worth it. Yeah, Zen 3 was really good with DDR4. There it is. And now I gotta put this thing back on. So I guess we just close this, and then there should be clips. How does this go? Should clip on. There we go. Okay, so the socket cover is on. Motherboard's ready to go into storage. There we go. DDR4's last stand. This is the final DDR4 chipset ever manufactured for consumer desktop. The Z690 DDR4. So AMD Zen 3 X570S was AMD's last DDR4. That was a 2020 product. This was a 2021 product. So this is more recent technically by like 1 year. Are you selling or keeping it? I'm keeping it because someday I might need to use this to make videos. Like if we want to compare, for example, like if I ever want to do DDR5, like let's say DDR6 comes out in the future. Like if I want to do DDR6 versus DDR5 versus DDR4, or versus DDR3, because I still have my DDR3. So now I don't have DDR2. I don't have any DDR2 RAM. So I can't go that far back, but I do have a lot of DDR3. You guys wanted to see what was in the box? Literally nothing. Did I put this in correctly? Yeah, I think that's in. Okay, that is that. You know what? I can probably put this in there with it. And there you go. Z690 Gaming X from Gigabyte. There's the old computer. And then the new one, for those wondering, this is the new motherboard. Well, it's not really new anymore, but I mean, this is what we're replacing it with. So X670 Aorus Elite AX. So it's not X670E, which means it only has 4 lanes of PCI Gen 5 for the first M.2 drive. Everything else is Gen 4. But that's okay because there are no PCI Gen 5 graphics cards, and even if there were, most likely they would not fully saturate PCI Gen 4. So if anything, PCI 5 right now, I don't want to say it's a gimmick because it's a nice to have. Because I always say it's better to have something and not need it than to need something and not have it. So, but just right now, PCI 5 is kind of not really that useful. Like, there's no GPUs that use it. Even if there were, they wouldn't be able to take advantage of it. So the only thing that really uses it would be storage, like this, the Crucial T700. This is like this was the fastest SSD in the world until Crucial released another one recently that I think is a tiny bit faster than this one. So PCI Gen 5 storage is a thing, but there are a lot of challenges with cooling Gen 5 storage because it tends to thermal throttle a lot unless you have a really good setup where you have a lot of good airflow over the heatsink. So that's basically the equivalent. That's basically the only thing that I can think of that can leverage PCI Gen 5 right now. You like the motherboard? This one, the Aorus Elite, Gen 5 has been skipped from me. Well, I mean, there's really nothing that can benefit from it outside of storage. And, not a lot of people do RAID on desktop anymore. And a RAID 0 of even just PCI Gen 3 is so fast that it's like, what's the point of having to introduce all the complexity? One thing that I have realized, though, PCI Gen 5 has driven the price of motherboards way up since its release. DRAM NVMe is better for OS drive. Yeah, but this is a DRAM SSD? I don't understand the question. Haven't used RAID 0 since SATA SSD. Yeah, I haven't used RAID 0 since hard drives. I never did RAID 0 with SSDs at all, now that I think about it. I was thinking of doing it at multiple points in time and never got around to doing it. But I did like Western Digital 10,000 RPM, Western Digital Black 10,000 RPM hard drives back in the day. I did a RAID 0 with 2 of those. And yeah, it was kind of fast, but then as soon as the first SSD came out, it was like, what's the point of RAID? You know what I mean? It just introduces complexity when you're trying to boot a system and you have a RAID 0 running. And then especially if you're doing like bifurcation on the PCIe slots. So you had dual Intel SSDs in RAID, never had an issue. Yeah, I have, I got a lot of Intel SSDs actually. The 670p M.2, and then I have like the really, really old SATA one. You gotta go? Yep, thanks for stopping by. And again, if you guys are new, we do a regular live stream on this channel every Thursdays. So this is not the norm. Like sometimes I do live streams on the weekend. If I do a live stream on the weekend, it's usually more gaming focused. But I decided, you know, I'm gonna swap cases, I'm gonna swap platforms. Might as well just show the process of doing it and turn that into content, I guess. I mean, some people like this sort of content. It's easy for viewers to come in and ask questions if they have questions about a PC build that they're working on or they're considering. So that's what we do. I guess I'll put this stuff in here. I'm gonna have to put away the Noctua stuff, the Noctua mounts for the AM4 for the air cooler. But yeah, this is what we're using. The nice thing is I'm pretty much set up now for the Zen 5 launch. All I need to do on launch day is get the CPU, take out the old CPU, or, you know, obviously the motherboard. Well, the thing is, the motherboards, you know how you can tell we're close to the launch? Here, let me show you guys something. This is how you can tell. Where is this thing? No, not that. This one. Okay, well... All right, let me get rid of both cameras. Okay. So, right here, the way you... Oh, whoops. This is the wrong motherboard. All right, let's look at this ASRock motherboard. So this is the Steel Legend that we were talking about earlier. The way you can tell that Zen 5 CPUs are coming soon is the fact that there's already BIOS support. The latest BIOS, as of April 25th, update AMD AGISA 1170 for next generation Ryzen processor support. This basically means Zen 5. So when a motherboard gains support for the next generation, that's a dead giveaway that the new CPUs are right around the corner. Like there's no denying it now. Like they cannot, obviously there's gonna be more and more leaks, but now you don't even need the leaks because you literally, if you own this motherboard, like I have the Steel Legend, all I have to do, and I've already done this, is update the BIOS. And now when Zen 5 comes out, all I gotta do is buy the CPU and I already just do a socket upgrade. It's super easy. Like that's it. And then I've also got, like this motherboard's so good because it has a GPU anti-sag bracket right there. So that's what the 4090 is using so that it doesn't have back problems, I guess. So that's what that's for. But and we look at this one over here. This is the Aorus Master. This is the motherboard that we are currently live streaming to YouTube with, and this one already has the update AGISA 1170 patch A for next gen Ryzen. So this motherboard is also ready to support Zen 5. So that's good to see that they're being more proactive this time. The MSI Meg Ace also has the support right here. AGISA Combo Pi 1170 patch A updated for next gen CPU. So there you go. You know what? I want to know something. If I go to compatibility, sometimes they mess up and they leak the product name. Okay, so they haven't leaked it. So, because this is the sort of stuff that turns into leaks. Like if a motherboard manufacturer accidentally publishes the compatibility, they'll give you the product name. So we might as well check all of these. We go to CPU support, and then, okay, I see 8000 series, but that's 8700G, so that's already been out since January. But see, so yeah, so the 9000 is not updated yet, but the thing is, we know that the motherboard supports it because it's literally in the description for the latest BIOS. So Gigabyte has it, ASRock has it, MSI has it, Asus was the first one. Asus had it, I think, like a week before everybody else. So, and then meanwhile here, just kind of public service announcement for the Z790, they now have updated the turbo power limits Intel baseline support for 13th and 14th gen so that those will no longer pump copious amounts of current and damage the CPU prematurely. So the SEP settings and power settings, all that stuff has been added. So if you don't know how to do the things that I show how to do in my video for stopping the crashes on Intel, just update the BIOS and then just turn this thing on. Turn Intel baseline on. That's like a easy button that does the same exact thing that I show how to do in my video. So that's the Intel coverage. But yeah, Zen 5 is on the way. As we've seen here. But that's how you can tell when it's getting closer and closer to the launch. Okay, well, I think that was going to be it for the stream. I accomplished what I wanted to do. I swapped the CPU or platform. We will do more testing, I think, in the future on this platform. Hence the reason why I swapped over to it. I want to do some content on probably Curve Optimizer in the future because I haven't really touched that subject in a while. But I know that there's a lot of interest in that. Alright guys, so that's going to be it. Thanks for tuning in. Again, if you're new to the channel and you like PC DIY content, or if you're new to building your own PC and you would like to get help or you got questions, we do the live show every Thursdays. Sometimes we do live shows on the weekend like this. And we cover all things related to PC components, so RAM, CPU, GPU, motherboard, case, cooling, you name it, we cover it on here. So thanks for watching, and I'll be back next week with the next episode of This Week in Tech, and I'll catch you guys. Until then, take care, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.